Good morning, Ann Herbster.
Morning, Rhonda Boyle. How are you?
I am good on this rainy day in Northeast Alabama.
It's cloudy in Maryland.
I'm sending more rain your way, probably.
Yes, you are.
And so I don't really need to fluff up my hair today. I'm dealing with some extra fluff. Come on in the room. Hey, everybody. Welcome. We are ready to get started here right about now. Hey.
Hi.
Yeah. See, I told you.
It's fluff.
I didn't need to do any more fluffing today.
No, you didn't.
I know. So come on in. It's good to see you. We are here live on day 2 of the Launch and Grow Challenge. I'm Rhonda Boyle here with Ann Herbster, and we are the co-authors of the Coach Business Guide, the path to launch and grow your coaching practice. And that's what we do. We launch and grow.
That's right.
We launch and grow coaches if you're new, or coaches if you've been around a while and you just haven't quite had it all pulled together, or maybe you've been coaching in the corporate space and it's time for you to go independent. Lots of opportunities here coming in 2022 and beyond for coaches. Right. Yeah, there's good news for coaches.
Yes. No, I hope everybody took the time to get their worksheet, because we're on day 2 of the worksheet. And it's a great tool to help you follow along with us and take notes and jot down ideas that come to mind as you listen, or answer for yourself as you think about responses to some of the questions that we got.
Yeah, so grab that now. You can go to coachbusinessguide.com/challenge and grab it. Grab it now.
That's right.
So today we're going to be talking about the who you are going to coach. And it really does need to be a single who, at least initially a who, because the reason is because people speak different languages, or they hear different languages, really. And I have a story about that, Ann, that I love to tell. I worked with a coach, a great coach, who loved to work with churches. And he filled me in. They were the perfect dynamic for him, told me the whole reason why. And then he said, and chiropractors. And I'm like, well, what? Hold on. I mean, like we'd been talking about his ideal client for all this time. And then he threw in this chiropractor, which literally was like a gong. It didn't make any sense. The two didn't go together. And so if you use the word and, you coach this person, your ideal client is this and that, you've got 2 different message scenarios, probably.
Yeah, and it can cause confusion for people looking at you and trying to understand who you're serving, who you're helping. What challenges or problems are you trying to help them overcome? You know, this is important. This is asking each of you to kind of put a stake in the ground and say, you're going to work with organizations or corporations, or are you going to work with individuals? And you may raise your hand and say, but I can do both. I want to do both. And that's great. But, you know, there's really important that you kind of put that stake and say, if you're getting started, let's pick one that you feel really comfortable with, that you feel that you can satisfy, support, and really make a go of it initially.
You really want to know them very intimately on a psychologically, you know, on that deep level.
Right. And we want you to be comfortable with that, your choice. And we want you to pick the group or the individual that you're going to have a high confidence in what you're doing, that you're going to feel good about what you're doing, and that you know you can be successful, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we love that you're tuning in, and we can't see you or who you are unless you give us permission. We do see you coming in from Wyoming and
Yeah.
New Jersey, and hello from Texas. Good to see you
Wow.
today.
Great.
Yeah, so go in. You can give permission if you can. I don't know. That's one of those technology things.
Yeah.
I
But,
might break into a hive. Anyway.
okay. Rhonda, we're talking to our audience here about
Mhm.
your ideal client. And what we want to emphasize is don't pick somebody because somebody tells you to do it. Pick who you want to serve because it
Right.
feels really good. And, don't spread yourself so thin that you can't do justice to either one, especially when you're starting out. Pick something, pick an organization or an individual group that you're going to be really comfortable with, right?
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because again, you want to be talking to them and relating to them.
Yeah.
So let's get started and on corporate clients, because a lot of you want to work with corporations, and that's definitely a good target or ideal client category, I guess. So let's
Right.
talk about who they are.
Yeah. The first thing we talk about is what industry are they going to be in? And this can be answered in a couple different ways. Are there industries that you have familiarity with? Are there industries that you worked in that you have a lot of knowledge and you're comfortable with? Are there industries that cross over because
Mhm.
there's similarity? Like Rhonda was talking about the coach for the chiropractor. You didn't finish your story, Rhonda.
Well, I wanted to put that part in here because what we found out after really drilling down into his ideal client and where the chiropractor came in is the chiropractor was paying. So that's, the church
Right.
people really were not. And so where else could he take that chiropractor? That's because they had the same feel, the same number of employees, the same type of single office owner setup. And he was able to turn that from chiropractors into all medical offices. So he could go into a pediatrician's office, a
Mhm.
standalone pediatrician's office, or a podiatrist, or any type of medical office that had the small type of group that he related to and wanted to coach. So
Right.
that's what we mean by industries that cross over. There are lots where your talents and the solutions that you bring, they have similar challenges.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like an example would be if you really worked in nonprofit and want to stay in nonprofit,
Mhm.
there's so many different kinds of nonprofits. If you worked in small business, there's a lot of different small businesses out there that have a lot of commonality in terms of depending on what your area is. So
Right.
it really also comes down to who do you know?
Yeah.
Like what organizations do you know? Do you know people in? One of our users here said corporate is only a good target if you truly want to serve that world, not because you think more money's there. Oh my God, that's so
Oh,
thank
I
you.
hear
Thank you.
angels singing.
Yes, yes.
Like that is so true. And you know
Yeah,
what? Most coaches are not really driven by money. They need to pay the bills, right?
yeah,
But they're driven to serve someone. But if you really want to be in that corporate space, then you want to build that, relationships there still.
right. And
Mhm.
that's important because there are people that say, I really want to focus. I've got training, I've got coaching, either at executive level or management level, but I've also got experience in different programs. And so I feel comfortable in the corporate world. And there's a lot of benefit to that. You know the language, you're better able to aim your messaging because you understand that businesses.
Mhm.
So pick something, try, and we really want you to narrow it down who you want to focus on so that you can build your practice by focusing on that area. So let's talk about you've picked an industry. Well, what
Mhm.
are the challenges do they have? Rhonda,
Mhm.
what are some thoughts around that?
Well, lots. I mean, are you aiming towards improving their productivity? Do they
Mhm.
have a high turnover where you're trying to help them with retention issues? Or maybe your team is totally dysfunctional and morale is way down, and that those would be a few. Anne, how about some
Yeah.
more?
Yeah, you could have experience in communication. You
Mhm.
could have experience in leadership. You could have an ability to help people make sure that everybody's aligned around their goals. So, what are the challenges that your ideal client's going to be facing? Because
Mhm.
then what you can do is that you know who they are, you know the challenges, then you're able to say what are the topics that you can train on. So
That's
you can
right.
see we're building this so that at the end of this you're going to be able to say I know exactly who that person is and what they need. So, some topics, let me throw a couple out there that and it comes from the challenges we talked about. Could be
Mhm.
leadership, could be business development, could be improved communication skills, team development, dynamics, and interaction. A lot of this can come from your experiences, comes from your expertise, comes from what you've got. Maybe you're certified in, or you've spent years doing. There may be other topics. Rhonda, any other that come to mind?
Well, I'll get to that in a second. I want to bring up something that
Okay.
I believe it's Debbie has pointed out is that corporations are just like people in they have pain points. And
Yes.
that's really what challenges, that's what we mean by those challenges is what are their pain points? Because they're going to hire you based on easing that pain point.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, so that is something you really want to pay attention to and dig deep into so that you really figure out then what value you
Mm,
bring to the table. Now you have something that you can match to.
absolutely. And
Mhm.
this value is who are you and
Mhm.
what have you done that you can say, I can help? And that value could be your experiences, what you've done in the job, the kinds of experiences you had in your career or in the work you've done or in your life. They could be life experiences. It doesn't have to be necessarily career experiences. It could be knowledge that you've acquired either through learning or through certifications or through training or through programs, or they could be life knowledge, right, Rhonda?
Mhm. Exactly. Now, let's move into on your mini guide, you'll find a space to start thinking about who your individual clients
Yep.
are.
Yep.
And remember that your individual client is also inside of a corporation. You really do want to drill down that deeply
Hmm.
into who is the decision maker and what their challenges are and their goals and how you bring solutions to that.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
So, you've talked about corporate. Now let's talk for a few minutes about individual clients. You have chosen that this is an area you want to focus on. You want to go and you want to coach individuals. We suggest starting with the demographics.
Mhm.
Where do they live, work, and play? How do you define them? Are they defined by age? Maybe you want to be a fitness instructor for seniors because that's your area of focus,
Mhm.
or you want to work with families with kids who are struggling together from communication. What do they look like? Is there an age profile that you want to focus on? Is there a gender profile? We saw a story about a gentleman who said he wanted to work with individuals, men who were over 50, to help them gain their vigor and life back. So,
Mhm.
is there that age, gender that you're looking at? Financial income. Maybe you want to be an executive coach. You've done that internally in organizations, corporations, or nonprofits, and you want to now take that experience and you want to work with individuals. So, or you want to work with low income, want to work with women who are trying to start over,
Mhm.
coming from various situations. Rhonda, what are some other demographics they should think about?
Well, Debbie mentions here that we often find our ideal clients are the mirror images of ourselves or our past selves when we're
Hmm.
dealing with and individual coaching where
Right.
we've already been through it. We really understand what their issues are. We
Mhm.
understand, their challenges.
Yeah.
And so it could be that they're broke, or they're struggling with their kids or their job or you have to figure out what it is that's wrong in their lives, and then what you bring and how you can help them find the solution, which all comes down to what do they need. Sometimes there's a difference between what they think they need versus what they really need.
Right. And what are their pain points? It goes back to, we said earlier with our corporate clients, is defining those pain points is going to help you figure out what they need. Do they need help finding a new job? Do they need help getting better nutrition, or feeling healthy and getting strength training? Depending on what your focus area is, their needs should be aligned with what you're offering. And that's a good checkpoint here. If you think about what you want to coach and you're thinking about your individuals and there's a misalignment here, then you may want to go back and either think about what you're coaching or think about who the demographics, and it's probably the demographics of who you want to go after. Somebody just said, you want to craft a simple message that makes them say they're talking right to me. That's my issue. Yes. Because if I don't feel that that individual is speaking my language, understands my problem, then why should I go to that person? And that is, thank you for that. That is so true. And it comes down to your ability to be able to do that comes with your knowledge and your skill and your experiences that you're going to call on as you work with these various individuals. So, let's think about what are the solutions you're going to provide? And the solutions are how you're going to help them. And it's going to be coaching, of course. That is but that's only part of the solution. You got to be more specific, so I'm going to help you find a job. I'm going to help you have a healthier body or a healthier perspective of life. I'm going to help you lead better in your organization. Rhonda, what are some other solutions that somebody could be providing?
Maybe I want to bring more peace to the family, or help someone achieve a healthy lifestyle, or maybe find the love of their life.
Right.
There's coaching, lots of different types of coaches out there. And so, but you definitely want to be able to drill down to how you match up with their needs. How are you aligned in that way?
Right. And so when it comes down to is, if you think about these 4 questions we put out there, what are their demographics? What are their challenges? What are their needs? And what are the solutions? You should be able to basically write a profile of your ideal, either individual client or your ideal corporation. And what's important is, who are they? What do they need? And how are you going to help them?
Yeah.
So let's talk about your first client.
Who do you want to serve?
Yeah,
right. It all goes back to everything that we're talking about. And then another thing to consider is, who do you know that fits your ideal client that you can use as a model? You want someone's fuzzy image in your head, a single person, as you're crafting your message, as if they are the one. You're writing to one single person.
Or Rhonda, or a single or an organization. So if you're saying, I'm going to go into, think about the example that your story, he picked small medical offices. Pick one type of office,
right,
and start there. And the same way, pick one profile of an individual and start there. You can spread later, but start there.
Yeah, he's still talking to an individual client, though. He's talking to the doctor, that's who he's ultimately, even though he's going into a small company, he's talking to the single person, the doctor. Right. And so that's how you need to be able to drill down who you want to serve. And, it may take time for you to revisit those demographics and make sure, that everything fits rightly.
And we had a Facebook user say, I can help you gain confidence at work to self-advocate. Great example. That's how definitive and specific you want to be when you're talking to them and when you're trying to
narrow
message. Right. So, it comes down to, when you think about your first client, What do you care about? What are their needs? And if you could solve one problem, what would that be? So,
Yes, because let's look at that, because that's what she's solving.
That's right.
She's
That's right.
solving one problem, which is to
Absolutely.
help someone become their own self advocate.
Yep.
That's how narrow you get to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Great job there.
yeah, we've asked you to kind of define that client, and there's more. You want to spend more time really thinking about this and really getting to know who your client is. But once you've done that, the key part here is, what's their transformational journey that they need to go through, and where are they now, and where do they want to go? So the first step in defining is your client's transformational journey is, where are they now? And we've talked about defining the suffering, the pain points, their emotions and feelings. I'm struggling at work because I'm in an end job. Nothing's changing. I'm not respected. I'm frustrated. I'm not making enough money. Giving you some examples here. And then what happens is, I'm just going to keep going and my life is miserable. But what happens if they don't change? Life continues to be miserable. It affects my family. So these are the types of things you want to talk about, right, Rhonda?
Yeah, you've got to take it all the way to the end for them.
Absolutely.
What is the worst case scenario if they do absolutely nothing? You know, if you're dealing with a family that's having trouble with their teenagers, what's the worst case scenario? Your whole family's going to break up. Y'all better get that fixed. So that's just an example for possibly a family coach, relationship coach.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's important. People don't change until they have to, until they're feeling negative, or they have a negative experience, and they want to see positive. They want to see that there's a future that I can get out of this. Yeah. And that's the next part, is, where do they want to be? And you've got to be able to describe that, because if you can't describe where they want to be, then how are you going to help them? How are you going to satisfy their needs?
A lot of times we're really vague in this area. Like, here's one. I want to help people be their very best.
So what is that?
Well, that's what I'm pointing out.
Yeah, I know. What is that?
It's like, totally be the best you can be.
That doesn't answer. So instead you can
say,
I want to help somebody regain their athleticism, or I want to help somebody have a healthy eating styles, or
or break the glass ceiling, or increase their revenue, or whatever it is. It has to be that narrow and pinpointed. And I think this is where, when you're new, you just don't really think that all the way through, right? Yeah. You've been trained in a certain maybe coaching modality or whatever, and so really digging down and drilling down is certainly important, to know what their ultimate goal is, and how, and being able to paint that picture with language.
Right. That's so important. So, we've talked about the different types of clients. We've talked about the importance of a transformational journey. In our book, we talk about an important area that and this isn't in the exercises, but it's something we want to talk about, Rhonda, is, how do you want to work with your ideal client? And here you have the choice of one-to-one. I want to coach somebody one-to-one, or one-to-many. I want to coach in group, or I want to train in group environments. And it's a really basic question, and it's something we say, pick one and get started with one approach. And then as you become established, expand. And then you can go into change. So if you've decided, I want to work with nonprofits, and I want to coach them on communication, and I want to work with small groups no bigger than 15 or 20, let's say, then do that. You may find that there'll be opportunities to provide one-on-one coaching, but get set up that way, and then broaden yourself and focus on one-to-one.
You can do, I've seen it done both ways. You can do the opposite, starting
Yes,
off one-to-one
right.
and allowing, like, for example, you may be a family coach one-on-one, working with a
Mhm.
couple maybe, or working with individuals at your church, let's say. That could lead into the workplace in another training, like a big, that's how you would cross over. So,
Right.
but you have to start with one and be able to get that language down,
Mhm.
because they do not talk, think, or have the same goals as your individual one-on-one coaching client does.
Right.
So that's why it's important that you pick one, build it all the way out, gain confidence and practice, and then let it organically grow from there.
Right. And then
Yeah.
recognize they could feed each other. And that's definitely an opportunity. We're not saying that isn't, but
Yeah.
you definitely can get there. It's just pick one and do it right the first time so that
Yes.
you can have a chance to be successful. That's what
Yes.
we want you to do. Ideal client, transformational journey, and how do you want to work with
Mhm.
them?
I had someone tell me a long time ago, several years ago, that one of the big failures that coaches do or don't do is they don't iterate and practice enough. Like, they do something, and whatever it is, it doesn't meet their expectations. And so they start over from scratch instead of figuring out where that little piece is that's missing. Like, is it in the words that you're using?
Yeah.
Are you mixing are you using words that are colloquial or part of
Mhm.
your coaching uh, modality, that they may be unfamiliar with? So it's building it out and then practicing it a few times
Well, and
before you
Rhonda,
throw it away.
can I interject here?
Uh-huh.
Because we yesterday talked about having a mentor and
Hmm.
having individuals that are going to support you. And we talked about that.
Right.
And this is where what we suggest, we've said throughout our book, share, get feedback and suggestions. What you could do is, as Rhonda, you said earlier, find somebody that that fits your ideal client
Hmm.
and share this information about their challenges and their needs and their pain points and the value
Yeah.
and what you can do, and get affirmation. Get them to say yes or give you feedback so that you have an opportunity. This is going to be a constant iterative approach. You're going to be constantly
Constant.
learning, constantly changing. It isn't once and done. You're
Uh-uh.
going to want to constantly work to improve this and enhance. You're going to learn from your client and go, oh, that's I can interject that in my next session. So,
Yeah. And we're doing the same thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what's coming?
Well, let's see what's coming. So tomorrow is day 3, and we're going to be talking about creating a workshop or a coaching package.
Right.
And so you don't want to miss this session. It's going to be exciting. We're going to cover a lot of stuff in here, cover a lot of
Yes.
ground.
Yeah. And we want you to stay with us because on Friday, we're going to announce that for all of those who not just stay with us, but post something on Facebook, we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to offer our free exercise book that will be free if you finish the week. And so what's the challenge for today, Rhonda? What do we want them to post on Facebook today?
So the challenge today, I think, if you post on here, which one, let me see here. Do we even have, if you can identify your ideal client and 3 points about them,
Yeah.
like give 3 demographics about your ideal client. My ideal client is this, this, and that.
Yes.
If you can put those 3 things in the chat box here of this video, then we will call it good. And on Friday, we're giving away a prize for anyone who finishes up.
That's right. So and tomorrow I think is going to be real exciting. And we'll also later in the week talk about our training that's going to come soon, that we're
There
going to
you
launch
go.
soon. So some great feedback. Some thank you for those who commented. Really
Yep.
appreciate those comments. They're spot on. And by sharing, you're going to help others who are following us on Facebook.
Yep, we appreciate that. And so let's see, with that, we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you later.